Hello and welcome back to Warhammer 40k. Today's video was voted on by our patrons, which is the Librarian Dreadnought from the Blood Angel supplement. So as our patron is still fairly small, it's a good time to get involved and jump on our weekly polls that determine which reviews we cover. So this Psychic Dreadnought, it comes in at 8 power or 150 points before any upgrades are taken. It's not a named model, so you can take multiple of these within a single list. Now, kicking off with the keywords of note, he's a Blood Angel. It's a vehicle as well as a character, which is amazing as there's not many vehicles that are characters within the game whilst being under 10 wounds. It's of course a Dreadnought and has the smokescreen keyword which interacts with the stratagem. Then he's also got the Librarian keyword and the Psyker. As for stat line, movement 6 inch, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 6, toughness 7, wounds 8, attacks 4, leadership 9 and a 3+ save. So that toughness 7 really stands out to me as he's pretty much a heavy vehicle with 8 wounds to go on top of that, makes him quite durable. Ability wise, Angels of Death, so Shock Assault and Combat Doctrines are going to be the ones that affect the unit within the shooting phase and the fight phase, which we'll go over later in the video. But and they shall know no fear, won't really interact with him, and also vehicles can no longer interact with Bolter Discipline. He's got a Psychic Hood which allows him to do a +1 to deny the witch test within 12 inch. Then the Space Marine ability of Duty Eternal, which is a -1 to damage, so very Death Guard like there. The final ability, as is a vehicle, it can explode when destroyed on a 6, and units within 3 inches suffer 1 mortal wound. So only a small explosion there, but it still can do something. As he's a member of the Blood Angels chapter, he's got the Blood Angels chapter tactic called Red Thirst, which is a +1 to advance and charge rolls, as well as a +1 to wound rolls, if you charged, were charged, or heroically intervened. Then finally he has Savage Echoes, which is the Blood Angel super doctrine. If it's the Assault Doctrine, which is optionally turn 3 and then turns 4 and 5, he gets an additional attack if he charged, was charged or heroically intervened. So this is really nice as it also stacks with Shock Assault, which also gives him an extra attack. So before we check out the weapons, we need to discuss the psychic powers. Now the Psyker can attempt to manifest 2 powers per psychic phase and deny just 1 power in the opponent's psychic phase. He'll also know Smite as well as those 2 powers from the Sanguinary Discipline, so can't be using the main Space Marine Codex powers, only the Blood Angels powers. The first is the Quickening, and it allows the Psyker to reroll advance and charge rolls and also gives him D3 extra attacks, so very usable on this unit. You want him in combat, as with most of your Blood Angels units. Worth remembering here, your Red Thirst ability will add 1 to the advance and charge rolls, which you'll re-roll him. Then add in potentially 3 more attacks to his base attacks of 4, then 1 more for Shock Assault and 1 more potentially for Savage Echoes in the Assault Doctrine, can give him a potential of 9 attacks in combat, which is pretty crazy, and he does actually get 1 extra on, which we'll go over in a bit. Power 2, Unleash Rage for Warp Charge 6, you get to select a core unit within 12 inches, and in melee that unit gets an additional hit for every 6 they score. So this is great for any melee unit really, Sanguinary Guard, Death Company, those sort of units in particular are going to work really well. The third is Shield of Sanguinius. So you select any Blood Angels unit within 18 inches of your Psyker, and they get a 5+ in 1 save until your next psychic phase. And if you do opt to take this, you can cast it on himself. Very handy. Power 4, Blood Boil for Warp Charge 6. Select an enemy unit within 18 inch and visible, roll 2d6, and if the total is more than their toughness, they suffer d3 mortal wounds. Now there's better powers in this discipline. If you want to do damage, just use Smite. Power 5, Blood Lance, which again is Warp Charge 6. You select an enemy unit within 18 inches. You draw shortest line possible between the Dreadnought and the enemy unit, then roll a d6. For each model the line passes, and on a 5+, that model's unit suffers a mortal wound. Again, if you want to do damage, I'd just go with Smite. Then finally, Power 6, Wings of Sanguinius, allows the Psyker to do a normal move or fall back as if it was the movement phase. He also gains a movement of 12 inch and the fly keyword. Now a normal move is not an advanced move, but you're getting 12 inch anyway. And with his standard movement on 6 in the movement phase followed by this 12 inch movement in the psychic phase, that's a good 18 inches right there before you're even charging. So from the 6 powers, you can select 2 of them. They've got the Quickening and the Wings of Sanguinius are very good, but also I wouldn't mind that Shield of Sanguinius on him. But yeah, Wings of Sanguinius is definitely the one to go for. There's nothing better than seeing a flying Dreadnought going across the table. Okay, so next we need to check out the Warlord Traits. Now he has the selection of all 6 because he's not a named character, so let's go through all 6. So the first is Speed of the Prime Arch, which simply means he can always be fighting first. This one's huge, especially if he's not got the inbound caster on him, as you can remove most or even all of the threat by killing them first. Option 2, Artisan of War. Unfortunately, as he's a vehicle, he can't be taking any relics, so this is a no-go. The third trait is Soul Warden, which is an aura for friendly units within 6 inches to have a 5+ feel no pain roll, and that includes him in that aura, so that's going to be really handy. Number 4, Heroic Bearing. This one affects 2 abilities that it doesn't actually have. Now there is a stratagem however to give him these abilities, which is Wisdom of the Ancients, and it simply adds 3 inches to the range of those 2 abilities. It also gives the ability to increase leadership on nearby models, but I'd probably not bother. 5 is Gift of Foresight, the ability to reroll a single hit roll, a single wound roll and a single saving throw per turn. A slight bit of bookkeeping involved in this one, as it lasts all turn, but it still can be handy. Then number 6 is Selfless Valor, which allows him to heroically intervene 6 inches instead of 3 inches, which makes him quite dangerous. Not my preferred option, but it's still pretty good. So pretty much all the traits here are very good as far as Warlord traits go. I personally would like the Soul Warden Aura trait. So being a Librarian, he has access to being a Chief Librarian. It's an additional 25 points or 1 power level, and it grants him access to an additional psychic ability. Furthermore, you've got access to another Warlord trait called Psychic Mastery, which adds 1 to his psychic tests. Now, as much as I'd like to have this, the other traits are far more superior. Now, there is a relic option, but again, as is a vehicle, we can't take relics, which is stated on page 108 of the main Space Marine Codex. So really, you're paying 25 points for the additional psychic power. If you've got the spare points, go for it, but it's not an auto-include for me, especially a vehicle psyker. Now let's move on to the weapon area of the data sheet. So this Dreadnought is equipped with a Storm Bolter, a Furioso Fist and a Furioso Full Halberd. That's the base weapons. We'll go over what the upgrades are in a bit. So first is the Storm Bolter, 24 inch range, rapid fire 2, strength 4, no AP and 1 damage. Pretty basic, it's just a double bolt gun effectively, popping off 4 shots within 12 inch. Might do a bit of damage to some light screens. The Furioso Fist, which is your melee weapon, it's strength times 2, making it strength 12, minus 3 AP and the damage is 3. This is your main melee weapon, perfect for wrecking anything. Now this Dreadnought gets 4 attacks base and 1 for shock assault, giving you 5, and that's before you even consider the quickening psychic power or savage echoes. So for the breakdown, I'm just going to go with 5, as that's almost guaranteed. You're hitting on 3s and averaging 3.3 hits out of those. You're pretty much always wounded on 2s when you include Red Thirst, which will squash 2 Terminators in a single round of combat, or against a vehicle you're just shy of doing around 7 damage to them. Unless of course they've got an in-run save, which dramatically changes those figures. Now it'll only be 1 dead Terminator or around 4.1 damage dealt on average to the bigger stuff. Still pretty effective, especially when you add the quickening and savage echoes, and we've not yet finished there either. So he's got another melee weapon, which is the Furioso Force Halberd, which is strength plus 2, making it strength 8, minus 3 AP and the damage is D3 plus 3. Now each time the bearer fights, it makes 1 additional attack with this weapon and no more than 1 attack. So it's a free extra attack, it hits on 3s and most likely wounds on 2s unless it's toughness 8. But that damage is averaging 5 damage per wound that goes through. So maybe save a reroll for this, or if you're taking that Warlord trait with a Gift of Foresight that allows a single reroll to hit and to wound, then this may be where you want to use it. As far as upgrade goes, the Storm Bolter can be ditched, can be replaced with either a Heavy Flamer or a Melter Gun. Both options cost 5 points each, bringing your total unit cost to 155, and that's of course without being a Chief Librarian. So the Heavy Flamer, it's got a 12 inch range, heavy D6, strength 5, minus 1 AP and 1 damage, and of course it's auto hitting. So the Heavy Flamer is an okay option, it's removing screens, but the amount of hits is quite unreliable due to the D6. It's also heavy, not assault, so you can't be advancing and firing this. The Melter Gun is also 12 inch range, it's assault 1, strength 8, minus 4 AP and the damage is D6. Now each time an attack is made against units that are within half range, i.e. 6 inches, the damage will be D6 plus 2. So this makes your Dreadnought a fully anti-tank unit. It's only got 1 shot here, but it has the potential of 6 damage or even 8 damage if you're in half range. So shoot this before you charge in. Now I'd personally take this weapon over the Flamer and the Storm Bolter. So moving away from the weapons, we will look at some synergy between the supplement and the Space Marine Codex too, looking at the stratagems. So from the Space Marine Codex, there's only in death does duty end for 2 CP, lets him fight even when he's just died in combat. Now this is only useful if you haven't selected the Speed of the Primarch Warlord traits, because that means you'll be fighting first anyway, so you won't really need this. Armour of Contempt grants your vehicle a 5+ feel no pain save for the phase, so if you haven't selected the Soul Warden Aura Warlord trait, then this will come in use. Wisdom of the Ancients is a big one for only 1 command point, gives your Dreadnought either the Rites of Battle Aura or Tactical Precision Aura, which can be combined with the Warlord trait Heroic Bearing to make the aura 9 inch aura instead of a 6 inch, and this is giving rerolls of 1s to hit or to wound to core units. Unfortunately though, it doesn't affect your Dreadnought itself. Hero of the Chapter is a way of getting an extra Warlord trait in your list, so if he's not your Warlord, pay a command point and give him a trait as well. Then there's Smoke Screen for 1 CP to place a -1 hit penalty on units targeting him. Now it does have the Lookout Serve rule in effect, so shouldn't need this early game unless he's gone up alone on the board with the Wings of Sanguinius. Now from the Blood Angel supplement, you've got Spiritual Might for 1 CP, gives him the use of an extra psychic power that phase. Now combine this with being the Chief Librarian to have 4 psychic powers in a single phase. A big one from the book is Angel Exemplar for 1 CP, allows your Librarian Dreadnought to have an additional Warlord trait. Now I'd use this every time as most were really good, and you can have say Speed of the Primer along with the Soul Warden aura. So that's his datasheet and all the options summed up. I've already said what Warlord traits I'd use, and I'd definitely take 2. I'd most likely take the Melter, and maybe I'd take the Chief Librarian as well, but when you've got 2 Warlord traits there might not even be a need for it. I'd go fishing for a big fight with him against a vehicle or character, especially if he can cast a Quickening and Wings of Sanguinius on himself. That's the 2 you really want to go for, unless of course you want that in-bun as well. Combining your Melter firepower along with your melee weapons and the durability, you should be smashing things to bits. Now if you are in a fight for longer than you'd hoped, then you won't need to cast Wings of Sanguinius that turn, so just go for Smite to clear off whatever's holding you up. Now he is only a mid-range unit in terms of shooting, so it would be a bit of a waste in your backline as he's not really buffing units unless he's got the Wisdom of the Ancient Stratagem on him, and he can help out with some long-range units down in the backfield, but that's just a bit wasteful to me. A captain can do that sort of job, or a lieutenant. This Librarian Dreadnought is not really a support character. This is a full-on nightmare for your opponent to deal with. He probably will be priority number 1. He actually will need some support as he's not got an invuln unless you're casting one on him, and potentially a feel no pain save too. So you need something quick to keep up with him, especially if you've got the fly keyword on him with Wings of Sanguinius. So I'm thinking Outriders or jump pack infantry like Sanguinary Guard, or your Death Company Space Marines with their jump packs. They'll be able to keep up with them, and then provide him a Lookout Sir bubble. And also if he's got the 5-up Feel No Pain bubble from your Soul Aura, he's going to be giving it to those units. So on to the rating. If you kit him out correctly with the double Warlord traits and the correct psychic abilities, then for me he's only got to be a 5 out of 5. If you don't kit him out correctly, then he can easily slip down to a 4. But these reviews are for competitive players, so I'm going with the 5 here. That's my thoughts on today's unit. Let me know yours below. Have I gone too high with this rating? Let me know below. If you've still yet to tell me if you prefer this unit over Mephiston, let me know below which one you do prefer. And if you are new to the channel and you've just found us in the search menus, then please hit that sub button below. We're doing plenty of reviews from the Blood Angel supplement and loads more from the Space Marine Codex as well. Remember to drop a like on your way out. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.